Greetings, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I'm a professional, not your professional. Nothing I'm about to say should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That's it. Disclaimer over. So I thought I'd talk today a little bit about what I don't know about change. And it's a theory. It's a theory about change that involves six stages and also a few limitations of the model I want to talk about. We'll get to the name of the model in a minute. But these two guys, one named Prochaska and one named De Clemente, I'm definitely not saying either one of those correctly, they were around in the late 1970s. And through a bunch of studies examining the experience of smokers, they looked at smokers who quit on their own, along with those requiring further treatment, in order to understand why some people were capable of quitting on their own. And it was basically determined throughout all that people quit smoking if they were ready to do so. And so the model that I'll talk about is called the Transtheoretical Model. And the resource that I got this from really specified that this is not a theory, but a model. So there's a major assumption that this model makes, and that is that people do not change behaviors quickly and decisively. So they came up with the idea that individuals move through 6 different stages of change. And those stages I'll name real quick, and then we'll get into them a little bit more. So they are precontemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and termination. So starting off with that first one, pre-contemplation, all right, in this stage, people do not tend to take action in the foreseeable future, and that foreseeable future is defined as within the next 6 months. People are often unaware that their behavior is problematic or that it produces negative consequences. People in this stage often underestimate the pros of changing behavior and place a little too much emphasis on the cons of changing their behavior. So the next stage, the second stage, is contemplation. In this stage, people are intending to start the healthy behavior in the foreseeable future, which is the next 6 months. I'm going to quit on New Year's, that kind of thing. People recognize that their behavior may be problematic, and a more thoughtful and practical consideration of the pros and cons of changing the behavior takes place, with equal emphasis placed on both. Even with this recognition, though, people may still feel somewhat ambivalent toward changing the behavior, whatever that behavior is. Third is preparation or determination. The terms are kind of interchangeable in this case. In this stage, people are ready to take action within the next 30 days. People start to take small steps toward the behavior that they want to change, and then they believe changing their behavior can lead to a healthier life. So it's looking more and more like a good idea. Finally, not finally, there's a few more stages, but next is action. So in this stage, people have recently changed their behavior. So that is within the last 6 months, and they intend to keep moving forward with that behavioral change. Many people exhibit this by modifying their problem behavior or acquiring new healthier behaviors. And sometimes those healthier behaviors include various coping skills. Next is maintenance. In this stage, people have sustained their behavior change for a while, and that a while is defined as more than 6 months, and intend to maintain the behavior change going forward. People in this stage work to prevent relapse to earlier stages. That tells me that this is not a linear process. Just like grief isn't linear, this is probably more of a squiggle through all of them. Lastly is termination. In this stage, people have no desire to return to their unhealthy behaviors, and they are sure they will not relapse. Since this is rarely reached and people tend to stay in the maintenance stage, the stage is often not considered in health promotion programs. So like I mentioned earlier, there are some limitations to this theory, and it was called, again, Transtheoretical Model, TTM for short. So some limitations which should be considered when using this theory in public health. The limitations of the model include the following. First, the theory ignores the social context in which change occurs, such as socioeconomic status and income. Second, the lines between the stages can be arbitrary. Oh, see, I said not linear. Can be arbitrary with no set criteria of how to determine a person's stage of change. And there were questionnaires, and the ones that have been developed to assign a person to a stage of change are not always standardized or validated. Third, there is no clear sense for how much time is needed for each stage or how long a person can remain in a stage. I imagine that means that somebody could be in a stage for a day, a week, a year, or years. And going back and forth between all those different stages, that's a lot of change over a long period of time. Fourth, the model assumes that individuals make coherent and logical plans in their decision-making process, when this is not always true. If you've ever heard of emotional minds, sometimes we think with that. So as I said, those were the 6 stages of change of the Transtheoretical Model. To review, we got precontemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and sometimes but not always, termination. All right, that's all I got for today. So if you want to support the show, remember to click the button on the website. And I appreciate each and every one of you simply for existing.